Bada bing, bada boom. We're back. Excited to bring you this one. This is going to be another episode of our Blazers series where we're kind of doing like an individual player analysis. Today we're going to talk about Scoot Henderson. I'll actually start these highlights so you got something to watch, not just listen to my voice. But if you know Scoot, if you know the story of Scoot, he was in Wemby's draft class. I can't remember. I believe that was 3 years ago, maybe four now. And he was in legitimate conversations with Wemby. Yeah, he was that good. He was that polarizing of a prospect. He just had such unreal athleticism, such an unreal strength and twitch to him at a young age, and to be able to combine that with speed and a solid 6'3" frame with a long wingspan is special, right? He showed a lot of signs of potential. Early on in that, I can't remember if it was the G League Ignite. I almost said OT. The G League Ignite. Guys, I know everybody likes to hate on the G League Ignite guys and the OT guys. Those guys are doing well. I promise you. Dominique Barlow, they're doing well. Amin Asar Thompson, they're doing well. Ron Holland, yeah. So but enough about that. In general, Scoot Henderson was a very polarizing prospect, and coming out, he had a rough rookie year. And I thought he would. I mean, he had a good rookie year, right? But he had the inefficient, top lottery pick guard type of year that you would expect, or that anybody who knows ball would expect. But he showed flashes of just absolute insane potential. He's one of those guys with like a low floor, but like really crazy high ceiling. And so, we've seen like a lot of inconsistencies out of him. We've seen, man, and there's really no telling what Chauncey Billups did to his growth and development, truthfully. I mean, let's think about it. Last year, maybe his year before last year, he had a 5-game stretch where he was crazy efficient, shooting like 50% from three, hit a game winner in the very next game, and from that very next game on to the rest of the regular season, he was benched. And so this is a guy that has had no lack of problems, no lack of issues to deal with, right, between coaches and playing time and consistency. Usually when you pick a top 3 guy, especially with this type of hype, you're giving him the keys. And we never gave him the keys. Chauncey Billups never even attempted to give him the keys. In fact, we talk about how bad Rob Dillingham's situation is, but this man was a top 3 pick, a guy that was talked about as there were people putting the word generational. That label is not common, right? And that label comes with some responsibility and some liberties that are granted before they're necessarily earned, right? And that's just the world. That's just basketball. That's how it is. And so we've missed out on some of what Scoot can be like already. And then we've also just, even though that hasn't been a huge difference maker in his maximum potential, like his ceiling, we have prolonged his floor and everything close to it. We've set off his timeline, and he is not going to be a championship player, whether it's next year or the year after or the year after that, when we're trying to compete. And a lot of it is that guy right there, Chauncey Billups, the man of the hour, Jailblazers, coming out in April. Can't wait for that one. But so there's really no telling how much he stunted his development and his growth. It definitely doesn't help that Dame took off when Scoot was there. And, there's also like a big what am I looking for? A lot of players need the ball in their hands. A lot of players need shots. So there's a big emphasis for getting shots up and not a whole lot of room for shots that are left, right? Like, man, I wasn't making much sense of that there, but like the general point is he is not able to put up the shots or even get the minutes that he deserves. Even this year, since he's come back from injury, I understand like slowing a guy into it when he comes back from injury, right? I get it. This is the game winner I was talking about, by the way. I really do get it. But 22 minutes a night for a guy that was a top 3 pick that right now is supposed to be starting to kind of enter that pre-prime era, this isn't enough. 13, 6, and 4, 24% from 3 isn't enough. Now, I will say I watch the game, so I can tell you for a fact that three ball looks good. It looks way better than the 2 seasons prior where he shot 12% higher. And this is just a lack of quantity issue, right? This is just, just a lack of numbers to pull from. So, limited minutes, limited games, much less the limited minutes in those games. But when he is in the game, he is the main operator, and he does a great job out of that. And guys, going back to the three ball looks great. It really does. It looks awesome. It looks fluid. It looks smooth. It's a higher release, and it's faster than it's ever been. He looks more comfortable. He's able to, square up and get his feet set and be balanced from different positions that, in the past he wasn't comfortable doing that from. And so, I know the percentage and the efficiency looks rough right now, but I think it's coming. And I think he's still going to be like an amazing player, like an amazing player. Maybe even top 5 point guard type player, but it's going to take a while. And I don't even think it's going to be this year, much less next year, maybe the year after that. I'm not sure if he'll still be with us by then. That sucks to even think about because I love Scoot. But I hope he is still with us. I hope we continue to facilitate his growth and his development. But I'll be honest, boys, as much as I love Tiago Splitter as a person, I do not trust him nor our organization to develop any talent, much less 3 or 4 years after they were a top pick, right? He's been in the locker room. He's been around the organization, walking around the facilities long enough. This isn't a big new name that we're super urgent to give attention to, right? Not we, but them. One can only assume, or one can only presume. So, got ads in a video with ads in it is crazy. As you can see, I had a little bit of time off between the last video and this one. I got the coffee bag. But hey, let's talk about Scoot's game. All right, what does Scoot's game pertain? All right, it contains either way, elite passing, elite pace, and not even just pace, but more pushing the fast break, getting out and speeding the other team up, getting in advantage situations. That's what he is. That's what he's great at. He's amazing at the basket, man. If he gets to the basket, especially with a head of steam, you're cooked. You're probably getting put on a poster. Crazy verticality, amazing finisher, amazing passer, and kind of like Rob Dillingham, he has a very high action capacity. Not Rob level where it's out of this world, but he's just such a good, quick decision maker like that. Boom. As soon as he turns his head, he's not even eyes on him, right? You can see him out of the peripheral. All it takes is that little wrist flick. And it's not even how small that is that is cool to me. What's cool to me is the time between the time he identifies that man and the time, he makes the decision to pass it, or not makes the decision, actually gets the ball out of his hands. And so, right there you see he elevates quite a lot on his shot, and that is very good. I think his shot looks great energy transfer. I think there's a lot of good there to build off of. Yeah, I think that looks awesome. It used to be more of a 2-motion shot, and now it is a lot prettier. But that's what the main thing I've noticed this year is even though it may not be falling, mind you, he's taken a lot harder shots, a lot more attempts, in less minutes with less opportunity. So he's kind of getting more in with less to work with per se. I forgot about that one. Anyway, that's what he's providing you. He's providing you a real offensive threat, but really, I'll be honest with you, he has to be the operator. And I think that's pretty obvious, right? He has to be the operator. And that's kind of what this league's shifting to is instead of point guard, shooting guard, small forwards, blah, 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 is really there's operators, there's off guards, and then there's, kind of 2 versions of big man, the stretch kind of big man, maybe a little bit more wiry, a little bit more agile, can switch. And then there's the big man who can't switch. Kyle Filipowski being a big man that can switch. And this guy right here being an example of a guy that can't, per se, Potter, which I actually don't know who he is. That's rare for me on any team. But yeah, no, Scoot's still going to be special. And he is special right now. I'll be honest with you. The numbers don't tell the full story. He's also he could be a great defensive guard, but it was like one out of every 3 or 4 plays. And it was just, immaturity, decision making, and just like valuing some of the more intangible stuff. And now he's gotten to where, I'm not sure if it's a maturity thing or what, but he values that stuff more. You see a lot more effort. And instead of like his negatives balancing out his pros on the defensive side, he is now actually a plus on the defensive side. And to be able to like have that quality and be able to play him alongside guys like, Drew Holiday, like Jeremy Grant, Sidi Kosoko, Tumani Kamara, like we just have so many. I think we have the best defensive roster in the league. Matisse Thybulle too, by the way. But we do have to kind of play as a unit. That's been our biggest problem this year is we got a bunch of amazing guys who love each other, but they just don't play well together yet. They're just not there yet. And so Scoot kind of like, creating his identity and his role within that unit and how he kind of fits next to Denny, right? Because that's super important. Dame comes back at some point. Drew Holiday's here. We got Shaden Sharp. So where are we fitting Scoot into that equation? There's other wings and guards I can mention, but that's the main rotation. So like the question is like, Denny but pretty much has to be a main operator. I mean, he's one of the best people with the ball in his hands in the league. He leads the league in paint touches. He leads the league in assists off paint touches. And paint touches are literally the most valuable stat in the league right now. So, yeah, that's nice. But, seeing how, like, I don't see a world where they start together. Obviously, Dame's going to start when he's back. He'll need the ball less in his hands. He's more of a shooter. He's probably going to be a little bit slower, looking to play more off ball anyways. And so that's good, And then the question becomes like, I think Scoot and Shaden run really, really well together. Obviously, if you're starting Shaden, it's the question of, all right, I guess, putting Scoot in with Shaden. Sometimes I'm running double point. Sometimes I'm running no point. But there's a lot of opportunity for Scoot Henderson in Portland, and we are more than willing to give it to him. I don't know if that includes Tiago Splitter, though. So we'll have to see. Appreciate you tuning in, and peace.